Okay, so for the elements I want to start off with would be my walls. Here you can see I have the mesh render off for each of them, so that way it was transparent, and I had the box collider on. My skull did have the rigid body, so that way it would be able to detect each time my skull would collide with the walls in order to create the boundary to keep it within the scene that I've created here. Initially, my skull was colliding with the wall and destroying it, so I did have to go in here and update this to detect whether it was the wall or not, and I did this by going in and creating a tag for each wall. Did that by creating the plus sign, and so for each of my wall you can see where it says the tag is wall, and so like for the rest of my game objects they're just left as untagged. That one did take a little bit of time, but once I realized the issue that I had going on, I was able to pretty quickly get it figured out. For my buttons here, the issue I ran into with this was in here I had this as a capital F, so I was referencing my class fish movement and not the object reference. So I did have to reach out for help with the user interfaces, and once I realized that that was the issue that I had, and I had the correct general idea, I felt a little bit better about the understanding that I had of user interfaces. After updating that, I did have to go in for each of my buttons, and I had to update this and reference the turn left, turn right, forward, and backwards for the fish movement script, because originally I had it on the buttons script, I believe it was. But yeah, so I had the correct general idea, I just had some of the settings in Inspector wrong. And then my movements initially weren't going because I had all of these frozen. Once I realized that was my issue, everything made a little bit more sense as well. I do have both of my Ys frozen because whenever which I can kind of show you here, yeah, so you can kind of see like, as it collides with some of the objects, you see like I can stop it right there, but then some of the, I can get it to go in the daggum right direction. Sometimes it just kind of goes off diagonally in its own world, and so if I don't have the y-axis frozen, then at times it would just kind of float off like a balloon, so then the boundary I spent all the time creating just was kind of pointless. So I have both of those frozen to prevent it from doing that. Let's see, here you can see I have this audio on loop for playing as soon as the game starts, and that's my background audio, little song that you just heard. And then here we can see this is the sound that I have playing for when it collides with each of the teeth, and then this is the one I have for whenever it hits the wall. And if you didn't hear it previously, this is it. And I just felt like it kind of suited the fragile nature of teeth in a skull, so I liked it. Just kind of added that in as something a little extra and to kind of play around. The only thing with that I didn't like was here I tried making it where it would be able to detect between like the default collision sound and the wall collision sound, which I did have to assign each of those in the inspector for the school here. So my default was the teeth collision and the wall collision, but as you can tell here, like whenever I bump into the wall, it still plays both sounds, so I'm not sure what went wrong there or how to get that to do what I wanted it to do. Trying to think, for my animations, I do just have it to where, if I bring this up, yeah, so like in my school prefab, you can kind of see where like I just have it idling, and I had this initially to kind of, for like when I had like my school like actually moving and having an animation set for that, but it just started kind of messing up the rotation of my school, and I think it just had a little bit too much going on visually to my liking, so I just changed it to where both of them, my teeth and my school, just idle, and whenever I move my school there is no like movement animations. And I do think with it being a sphere, a game object, I think it made it a little bit hard to add like a movement animation as well, compared to it being like, you know, like a character or something, for example. Yeah, I do wish I could have focused a bit more on like the materials and stuff, and maybe have like made some of my own, but maybe I'll spend some of my free time doing that and just kind of messing around with Unity. But that part did get a little confusing for me at times. Overall, I believe those are some of the main things I wanted to talk about, and also just kind of like the main elements that I've spent these past weeks kind of working on. Really enjoyed the class, and I really enjoyed seeing everybody else's work as well. I think it was neat just kind of seeing what everybody was able to come up with and the ideas that each other had, and just really enjoyed giving feedback and receiving feedback as well. But yeah, so that is my final project.